Welcome to CMO Confidential, the podcast that takes you inside the drama, decisions, and choices that go with being the head of marketing. Hosted by five-time CMO Mike Linton.
Welcome, marketers, advertisers, and those who love them to Chief Marketing Officer Confidential. CMO Confidential is a program that takes you inside the drama, the decisions, and the politics that go with being the head of marketing at any company in what is one of the most scrutinized jobs in the executive suite. I'm Mike Linton, the former Chief Marketing Officer of Best Buy, eBay, Farmers Insurance, and Ancestry.com, here today with my guest, Carilu Dietrich. Today's topic, B2B marketing, an update from the front lines. Now, Carilu is a former CMO who was the head of marketing for Atlassian, who took the company public. She now advises hypergrowth startups like Bill.com, 1Password, and Sprout Social. We met through CMO coaches and are both faculty at CMO Bootcamp. I really appreciate her deep knowledge about the B2B space. She is a regular correspondent, and we are welcoming her back for the fourth time on the show. Great to see you, Carilu.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Now, it's been over 6 months since we last talked. A lot has happened in the B2B space in those 6 months. Tell us what you're seeing.
It has been a busy year, and at the forefront has really been AI. For software companies, they're struggling to learn how to use AI to make their own teams more efficient, how to put AI into their products, how to sell and differentiate their AI, how to think about changing market dynamics with competitors. So lots of fast-moving efforts and investments in AI. Cybersecurity is also moving quickly at this time, with lots of companies growing quickly, trying to solve big problems with cybersecurity threats from every angle. But outside of those categories, and maybe the data category, which, data and infrastructure, which is getting propped up by AI, software, B2B software in general is pretty sluggish, and a lot of companies are really grinding it out. So it's been a tough year for a tough year for a lot of folks, with slower conversion rates, smaller deal sizes, and significant delays in hitting revenue targets.
And is this still a leftover from the big meltdown and the reevaluation when everyone was like, holy cow, we got to make money. It's not just about the top line. Or is this a new trend going on here?
This is still the extension of all the impact of the interest rates coming down and the economic recession that was never called a recession, but was probably a B2B tech recession. Layoffs were big, budgets were cut, and we're still seeing some of the ramifications. Companies have really moved towards efficiency, so they've gotten a lot more efficient. But along the way, it's just been more expensive and harder to capture growth. And part of that is because everyone's budgets were cut, and things that are outside of big priorities, again, AI, cybersecurity, data, some financial services or governance types of tools. If it's not mission critical, people are just waiting to buying less. If they had layoffs, they're reducing their renewals with fewer seats. And so we see that we've hit the bottom. It's not still going down. People are meeting their forecasts, or in some instances beating forecasts, but it's really not accelerating into growth yet.
Because we're seeing in B2C, you're seeing the consumer in certain categories buy a lot, and in some instances come roaring back. And you're saying in B2B, outside of what we'll just call the red hot mission critical categories, not coming back yet. Fair?
Pretty flat to slower growth. Mm-hmm.
And then when you look out on the horizon, is there growth out there, or are we kind of stuck in the B2B space in neutral for a while?
Well, hope is not a strategy, but I have a lot of hope. There's a lot of smart people really doubling down on product effectiveness. What drove B2B for so long was some amazing products that made us radically more productive. And we see that promise again in AI right now.
Right.
But really, companies have gone back to basics in a lot of instances to try to figure out what is it about their product that their customers need most. And the first order of business is really retaining customers and not having them defect and expanding their investments and selling to their existing customers. That's really the near-term growth for a lot of companies outside of maybe acquisition or pricing changes to kind of harvest a little bit more cash out of what they have. But we're really going to have to see some innovation in the next couple of years to see a return to growth. And that's tricky because, we don't have unlimited funds to invest in product development that, we had in the past.
We've talked about AI. We've done a number of shows with a number of different folks on AI. Is that going to supercharge the B2B world, or in the near term, in the long term, yes, AI is going to be great. In the near term, what's really going to happen here?
With any new technology, it takes time to incorporate it into what you're doing. So I think the excitement that OpenAI unleashed was really about the universal applicability of generative AI to any job that uses words. And the last year, people have really been trying to figure out how to use that. This year, they're trying to figure out how to use it more at scale. So most companies are creating AI councils, which bring together people from the marketing team, the legal team, across the company to figure out policies. How do we protect our data and privacy policies of all of our customer information and our trade secrets from just going into these AI algorithms that may or may not have privacy levels? Which tools are we going to standardize on a company, and are we going to pay for those? Because there's rampant credit card purchasing in every department by all sorts of different employees. How are we going to think strategically about tools and training? How are we really going to train our employees to become next generation AI workers? Because there's not a huge pool of AI workers out there to hire. There's a lot of internal training that's going to take place. And what I'm hearing from CMOs is that they've kind of been through this first round of governance, this first round of tools, this first round of training. And now they're realizing that they just need to go deeper in specific use cases or with training for specific people for specific types of jobs. And we're seeing the same parallel in products. There's so many different AI products that are being pitched to marketers for purchase for specific types of activities. And I think this is really where we're going to see the B2B growth. Maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 years ago, I was advising an AI company, and it was for reading automation. It could read any document and summarize it for you and pull out key data across a lot of documents. And it could solve almost any problem for anyone. But it was really hard to sell because it wasn't specific enough for one type of user. And so what you're seeing now is a lot of momentum in these AI companies that have really customized for financial governance or for, enterprise content blogs or editing.
Is it fair to say it's
outcome
and task specific versus generally powerful that you're seeing? Do you think it's going to work here, or what? Or that's where CMOs
I think
are
it's going to be the combination, right? We see a lot of success and momentum from AI companies who are, the pickaxes and Levi's jeans of the gold rush, right?
Yeah.
Like big LLM companies, and I'm advising a company called Weights and Biases, which helps machine learning engineers tune algorithms and optimize and run different tests and keep track of it. So there's a whole bunch of technologies that are underpinning the growth of AI that many different companies will buy. And then there's companies who are taking AI and applying it to a specific problem so that an end user can use it right away without setting up processes or customizing it or trying to learn it. So I think AI will be implicit in a lot of the software that we use. Both the predictive AI and generative AI will just be, wow, this is amazing software that does exactly what I need when I need it in an intuitive way.
And there's why every consulting company and every agency will probably tell you they are well on the front edge of AI. Are there really that many consulting companies and agencies even close to the front edge?
I'm not very deep in that world. And I do think there's some conflicts of interest, both in reducing the scope of their work, which is based on hourly work, and particularly in ownership of work. To date, a lot of the copyright laws indicate that if it's created by AI, you as a brand don't own it. Images, or content. And so if your agency isn't straightforward about using AI, there's a lot of gray space in what is yours and not yours. So I don't feel qualified to evaluate agencies on the whole, but certainly I know that Accenture, Paul Reitzer of the AI Marketing Leadership Institute. I think he shared that Accenture's on track to have like $2 billion of services recognized this year in their revenue from consulting on AI projects. So not a marketing agency using AI to generate marketing materials, but consulting companies on how they should think about AI. And a lot of the leaps forward I'm seeing are in customer support or in personalizing content to many different audiences at a scale that you just couldn't create in your own automation in automation processes.
Got it. So you said B2B, other than its special cases, are stuck a little bit in neutral. And you said in a lot of our previous discussions, elite companies think differently in this kind of situation. What does that look like to you now?
There's a couple things happening in the market. One, there's just a big shakeup of talent. A lot of companies have run into issues. CEOs are fatigued. CMOs are fatigued. There's a lot of turnover of CMOs and CROs. And there's a lot of changing of the guard of companies that had momentum that had to cut back, and other companies that now are coming up. So I think that there probably is a lot of exceptional marketing talent out there that's available for poaching. And at Atlassian, this was one of our strategies in the 2008 recession. We didn't have a massive amount of hires to hire, but we knew we could go out and get even better people because the market was difficult.
People were available. And
people are available, and not only are they available, they might even be in seat and holding on to like wait for less choppy waters. So they're just also maybe more open-minded. So I think the number one thing is getting the best and brightest together, because it's really the people that get you out of this. The second big thing is really focusing on the product. And you know, again, at Atlassian, we have this philosophy that if you have the most exceptional product, the product will sell itself. And that gave us the opportunity to spend less on sales and spend less on marketing, because the product itself generated a word of mouth momentum and organic inbound interest. I mean, which we saw with Zappos at the beginning, or
Sure.
you know, any kind of trend. I'm sure you can name dozens of B2C trends that would be the same, that kind of come out of nowhere because it provides something people really love. And so,
sure, like when Uber started or Airbnb started, it was just so interesting. People wanted it.
absolutely. And it
Right
solves
through.
like a really deep need in an intuitive and helpful way. So I think focusing in on the product. McKinsey did a study, I think it was after the 2000s recession, actually, about resilience. And they brought it back in the 2008, and we brought it back again in the 2011s with our in this last time with different research. But the resilience that they showed statistically was there's a group of people that come out of these downturns better off at the other end. And the two elements of how, one is cutting early and strategically to like quickly get costs in line. And the second is investing in the growth levers. And so the trick right now is figuring out what those growth levers are for your company and doing some significant investments. And it's a really hard work, right? This is the strategy work that will separate the wheat from the chaff. But figuring out where the company can really sell to a unique audience. So going back to the ideal customer profile, have differentiated offerings that solve a real pain point, and execute on that and operationalize on those. Lots of my clients are making big decisions about trading off growth levers and trying to make some bets right now to come out on the other side ahead of their competitors.
So if I'm a marketer, I'm sitting in here where there's obviously way more pressure on efficiency, and a lot of available, particularly in B2B, a lot of available money is going to go to AI or all this other stuff. What can I be doing that makes marketing like stay valuable to the company?
I wish there were silver bullets and
Damn, there's no silver bullets is what
magical
you're going to say.
sprinkles that we could blow like pixie dust. I see a lot of marketers that are being successful focus on the fundamentals day in and day out. And what looks like overnight successes are years and years of diligence. So, I mean, I definitely think number one, getting our data in order. CMOs are generally less trusted than other executives, in part because it's difficult to attribute and be clear. But there are things that we can talk about, and we need to be really clear about having strong executive dashboards at a quarterly level for the board meeting with consistent data, at a monthly meeting proactively for the C-suite, and for B2B, often at a weekly meeting for a pipeline meeting that you're using to meet with the sales leadership. And marketing leaders have to be really proactive with their data, because if other people come asking, then you become really reactive and can't be strategic. Two, exceptional execution at every layer of execution. I think teams are fatigued and people are looking for other jobs, or they have side hustles, or they just don't think they're going to be making as much on their stock options as they once did. And
There's that many side hustles out that you would put that out as an issue.
I think it's definitely an issue for employees. I mean, I think the millennial culture is a lot more side hustle focused, and it comes up in CMO circles. Again, motivating a team to do best in class work has a couple of elements. And one of those is hiring people who just have really high bars of excellence and are obsessive about their unique area of the business. And we've all worked at a company where we've worked with some people who are like, they're from 9 to 6 to do a good job.
Oh, don't be in the way of the elevator when the bell rings.
Really aren't raising the bar. And I had dinner with a CMO last week in New York, who some people would think is really just hardcore and mean, right? Someone would be like, oh, he's so mean. He pushes everyone so hard. He pushes everyone so hard and he gets really exceptional results. And like, get on the bus and help us really come through this on the other side with exceptional performance, or find somewhere else that's like an easier job where mediocrity is okay. And
the idea that you are going to win in this kind of marketplace by doing the same thing for very long is a terrible idea. The marketplace is moving too fast for you, so you got to be raising the bar. So,
like the third thing that's really practical is I actually think companies are also hungry for what to do. And so the smarter insights that you can provide, especially data-driven insights, really make a big difference to thought leadership and establishing more of a community and access to communicate with the people that you're selling to. So there's a gentleman over at Carta who runs their data insights, and he's publishing these really insightful
And Carta is the stock holding company, right? Is that right?
Yeah, Carta helps CEOs and early stage founders distribute and manage their stock options, and also has some secondary market trading for stock options. There's a little complication there, but there's a gentleman named Peter Walker at Carta, and he looks into all the Carta data and creates these analysis reports about like what's going on in fundraising. Have the sizes of A, Bs, and Cs and pre-seed changed? How many investors do people have at these stages? All sorts of different insights that help CEOs be more strategic about their business and builds a relationship with Carta as a trusted resource that they can turn to. And in the marketing space, in B2B specifically, 6sense is another company that does this really well. They have a market research analyst that they hired away from Forrester, which is one of the top technology consulting.
And just for our listeners, what does 6sense do?
6sense is an account-based marketing product that helps you see which customers are in market at any period of time with different intent signals, and then sell to them both through an advertising network that you can buy through them, and also with integrations into your sales system so that you can target these customers who are showing signs of actively researching before they might have shown up to you asking for a demo or sharing their email address.
Got it.
So they're one of the leaders in account-based marketing and data insights for marketing and selling to enterprise customers. And they just do a ton of content that's around best practices for getting really effective results out of your business development reps, best practices for marketing dashboards, best practices for CMO salaries. I've worked with
they
them
are providing
a number of their research.
super useful information based on data. Can I double back on the data thing just for a second, which is we've had a bunch of people on our show talk about AI and how to use it right. And one of the things that they have said is super strong is you've got to make sure your data is in order and structured correctly, or when you finally put your AI hat on, it will blow you up. Can you talk about that for a minute?
And primarily, we're talking here about predictive analytic AI.
Yeah, especially the marketing
generative
data.
AI, but just to say, yes, this has been one of the biggest problems in analytics. I mean, in AI. I told you that I'd advised that AI company 5 or 6 years ago. And at the time, it would take companies 6 months to get their data in order, and then 2 or 3 weeks to implement the AI tool to then use it and analyze all sorts of things. So data has been a huge blocker. And there's some big companies that have come out of this that just help you with your data tagging and organization. Scale AI was one that did all sorts of data tagging in the automatic cars or the AI car type of industry. So yes, I mean, I think Frank Slootman said, without a data strategy, you can't have an AI strategy.
Right. And also one of the most risky pieces of data, or one of the functions that is always called out as maybe not having the most structured and best data, often is marketing. And in B2B, you're going to have a lot of marketing and sales data that might or might not be really tight. So getting that right is going to be a really big deal.
It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. And it's only getting more complicated as we use different tools across sales and marketing as well, like different forecasting tools and different tracking tools, and marketing automation goes into your Salesforce and then integrates with, all sorts of different pieces. So an integrated data experience across sales and marketing is really important as well, even for non-AI related data, normal reports. I've seen issues a lot of times before where the sales team and the marketing team are reporting different numbers because they have a field that's closely is a close content, but is named differently and populates with slightly different information. So
when you stick AI in that, what will come out is you won't know where the problem is. You'll just know that you have a problem. Because
yes,
AI doesn't tell you where it got this all from. Sorry?
Right. Yeah, I said yes. I'm trying to encourage one of my daughters to become a data analyst. I think that there's, a lot.
I bet that is a great dinner conversation. So given all this, what should marketers and their agencies be thinking about or doing for the remainder of this year?
Return to growth is the number one most important thing. I've talked to a number of CEOs who have said they've gotten efficient and now they're generating cash and they want to invest it, but they want to know where it will make a difference. And this is always such a tricky spot because really marketing is about this portfolio strategy where we help the market become aware of us. We engage with people who are showing a little bit of interest. We pull them in and perhaps give them demos of the product or a product trial that they can use. We help the sales cycle. And so you really do need a diversified portfolio to support the growth that we need. But the most important thing is actually the strategy of the company. I think this just isn't a market where we can go into every region and focus on every vertical and have an AI product and 3 other products that we're launching this year. The C-suite needs to get really clear about which growth levers we think will have the most return for the investment, and then marketing and sales and product should all be aligned on that and executing on that at the top level.
And I hear you saying
that's where I see a lot of problems. I see a lot of problems with people trying to sample and do all of them, and they haven't really picked.
I hear you saying there, growth strategy is choices versus trying everything. And that choice has to be really thoughtful and ideally based on both a vision and some data that makes you feel you can achieve that versus we're going to try 50 things and find the one that works. Is that fair?
It is fair. I mean, I believe that an innovation strategy is a pipeline that's constantly moving.
Yep.
And so we should have 1 or 2 or 3 really big rocks for the year. And then maybe we have 2 or 3 small rocks that are experiments that are going to be our big rocks next year. And so, at Atlassian, we had the kind of an allocation of engineering resources of 10 to 15% towards innovation products. Google had the highest, I think, at 20%. And so when I say big bets, we need some big bets this year so that all of the different departments are executing at the same time. Because if sales is going to go into a region and marketing is going to go into a vertical and product is just going to do catch-up features to support existing customers, we're really not going to get a big lift. In order to get a big lift, we have to be singing from the same sheet of music. So picking big rocks now and incubating a few rocks for next year.
And also acknowledging, I think the other thing, that some of those little rocks will end up on the rocks because they won't work. But if you don't try them, you have to do it. And so I think that is good advice. We're running towards the end of the show, so we always have the same pick for everyone at the end. It's a 2-part question. You can pick one or both, but you have to pick at least one. Funniest story you can tell on the air or practical advice we haven't talked about yet. Yours to do 1 or 2 of those.
I always wish I were funny, but I'm not. So I will pick practical because I'm very practical.
I thought that was quite funny. But all right, we'll go with practical.
So right this second, I am obsessed with sales. So as a CMO, in B2B, we generate all these leads and then we pass them over to business development reps who call them, and then they pass them to sales reps who hopefully close them and turn them into revenue. Right now, when that's so difficult, I think marketers really have to understand the intricacies of the sales process and the customer journey in order to build better product marketing and better materials for salespeople to sell. Try to do engagement marketing with prospects that are in the funnel but haven't closed, and really earn trust of the sales organization so that sales is also promoting a lot of the marketing activities to get the most out of it. Because, marketing, when the sales conversion rates are down a significant amount from last year, I've seen reports from 5 to 10%. And so it's really difficult for marketing to provide more and more and more pipeline, infinite new leads. And so we need to make the salespeople really successful. So just this morning, I bought a new book from a 5-time CMO on how to run a fantastic sales organization. I'm working with a number of companies on really outlining the whole customer journey and mapping content. Last month, I was obsessed with BDRs and wrote 3 or 4 blogs on best practices for managing this intersection point between sales and marketing. So every downturn has its opportunities and challenges. I think this is a big opportunity moment for CMOs to, 1, work on strategy work that's about aligning the whole company, and 2, get really smart about sales. And over the long term, that could be, both of those things could be things that help CMOs become chief revenue officers, chief operating officers, or even CEOs in their future jobs, if that's something that's of interest to them.
Well, I think that is a great way to end the show. Thank you, Carilu, and thanks everyone for listening to CMO Confidential. Look for more of our shows on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and the I Hear Everything network. And if you like our show, please like and subscribe. Some of the shows you may want to listen to include Marketing, the battle between believers and non-believers, parts 1, 2, and 3. Is the CMO job the toughest position in business? Why is B2B marketing so bad and what to do about it? Parts 1 and 2. And of course, Carilu's previous 3 shows. Hey, all you marketers, stay safe out there. This is Mike Linton signing off for CMO Confidential.